Hey, this is Jan, and I'd like to welcome you to the second episode of JKTV, my new web show on WordPress, web design, and online business. This show is all about wireframing and why I think that wireframing is the best method for you to save time and money when working with your web designer. I also got a special challenge for you at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned. Okay, now we're at my PC, my Mac, and I'd like to show you how I use wireframes to create my new website. As you can see, a wireframe is nothing more than just a sketch on a piece of paper of how you want your website to look like. You're just using placeholders, like these boxes for example, where I just put logo in there to showcase that I want my logo to be displayed in the top left of the header. And I want to have the menu besides it instead of beneath it, for example. And that I want to have a search functionality in the right side of the header. It's nothing fancy. Wireframes are nothing complex or nothing well designed. You don't need to have any ability to sketch nicely images or something like that. You just draw on a piece of paper how you want your website to look like and where each element is placed. What this does is that gives you clarity of how you want the website to look like in the end, and it gives the web designer clarity as well, because the web designer now can see, oh, Jan wants a header on the side and the logo should be placed on the top left corner. He wants the menu on the side besides the logo, and he wants to have some kind of blank space between the menu and the logo, and he wants the search bar on the right hand side. This avoids misunderstandings in web design projects, and actually I had one client that was Grace Cleffam and Solonia Theodros from thechangeschool.com who really excelled in creating wireframes. Let me just open the website real quickly. Their website is quite complex. And actually it's loading a bit slow because I'm uploading and downloading besides recording this video. And what they did is they created a wireframe for each of these pages. That made it really simple for me to work with them. Just get rid of that pop-up. They made it really simple for me to work with them because they outlined each area they wanted to have on this page. Each headline positioning, each text positioning, the positioning of this counter, what they wanted to have in each block. And so I really knew what exactly I had to deliver for them. And this is something that is very good for every client, because your web designer obviously needs to understand you and needs to be able to recreate what you want him to create. So you don't need any fancy software for creating a wireframe. You just need a pen and a paper. And you need to get clear about the structure of every element on the website. You want to make sure that you see how each element is positioned in the wireframe. You want to make sure that you add fancy details. Like here, for example, I put divider on the side. I could have just said it's a red divider. I want a red line to be there. As you can see on my website, this is the divider that I'm referencing to in the wireframe. So this element here, this line, is this red line in the real website. Another great thing about wireframes is that you don't need to worry that much about propositions of element. For example, you can see here that I have a very small bar that says graphics of platforms that I was being featured on. This bar is a bit higher in the real website. It's this element here. This graphic. As you can see, it's not exactly the proposition that I have in the wireframe, but that doesn't matter at all. It's the same for these blocks, where I said this is the latest blog post that has a featured image and it has an intro text, which is the excerpt of the blog post. As you can see, these are just very small elements and they are a bit bigger on the website. But that's just a process that happens naturally when creating the website. The wireframe is not meant to lay out everything in perfect detail. The wireframe is meant to give yourself and give your web designer an idea of what you want the website to look like in the end of the process. It really is a great tool to avoid misunderstandings because you just have a visual reference of how you want the elements to be placed and structured. If you really want to nail wireframes, you would just create one wireframe for each device. So let's say you have a responsive website, which I think is mandatory nowadays, that obviously resizes when it's shown on an iPhone compared to when it's shown on this MacBook. So you would create a wireframe for the website, how you want it to look like on an iPhone, how you want it to look like on a tablet, on a small Mac, on a big screen. This is quite some work, but actually it saves you time, it saves you money, and it saves you a lot of headaches during the web design project. So I highly recommend investing that time in creating some wireframes before you get started. Actually, there are some web designers that help you with the wireframing process and that give you feedback to the wireframes to position the elements most efficiently and to design the website according to the common practices and to the best practices. I certainly do that for my clients, and you just have to ask your web designer if he or she helps you with wireframing as well. That's a great tool that I definitely recommend for you to use, regardless of which of you're working with a web designer or if you're working with an app creator, for example. This also comes very heavily into play when you are working on the software that you want to create with a freelancer, with a contractor. Laying out the software interface, the user interface, is definitely a valuable time saver when it comes to tackling those projects. So there you have it. This is the first tip that I'm sharing on JKTV, and I think it's already a ridiculous time saver and money saver if you implement it in your next projects. There are many more to come, so stay tuned and let me know how wireframing works for you in the comments. Now I'd like to switch from wireframing to fitness. As you might know, I'm involved in a health challenge by Vicelis that's called Project 10. And the challenge is about losing 10 pounds in 90 days by leveraging the power of the Y-Shape, which is a product by Vicelis. It's a protein shake that you can either use as protein booster before a workout or after a workout, or just as meal replacement in the morning or in the evening. I lost 10 pounds myself. Actually, there's an image of me looking before and after the challenge, or 4 weeks in the challenge, not even close to the end of the challenge. And I'd like to challenge you to do the same, because Vicelis is donating 30 meals to children to fight child obesity every time you lose 10 pounds by leveraging their products. If you want to know more, just shoot me an email to jan@jkoch.me or head over to jkoch.me/thechallenge.